Hi everyone, we've got the white and the discbine ready to head out to do some mowing. We've only got a few fields as you saw in the last video. This is following on immediately from doing the planting. We've just had a bit of a tidy up of our yard, put the planter away, so we'll get heading out. And I think we'll start nice and easily. We'll do this back field that's sort of two joined together into one. We'll nip down here and make a start. You can see there our corn all nicely planted. Well, some of it, the turning around at the end rows, was maybe not so nicely planted, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Get this all hooked up and unfolded. And because we're running Maize Plus, we just sometimes the conditioner doesn't switch on. And it doesn't matter so much for silage, but I do tend to have it on. In fact, I think it's off there, so there we go. Now I'm not sure what gear is best to mow in really. It's been a while since I've done this, so need a bit of trial and error. That seems about right. Top gear in, middle on the power shift, and we're off. I do love mowing with a discbine. As long as I get turning at the end sorted, it's nice and satisfying. And we do have to be a bit careful here to mind the pole. There we go. Maybe we need to drop it down a gear just to ease power. I'm rowing through the gears trying to find a good one there. Usually what I do is go once or twice around the headland, and then that sort of splits this field into two really, so we'll go from there. And I think if we tip this the other way now, I know we haven't really done that perfectly, but we can get a bit more grass out. And I'll try not to go too far outside there, just because that becomes an invisible wall, as this was all just meadow grass again that we ploughed up for the map. Now usually in this corner here we put our bale wrapper, make the sort of long tubes of wrap bales with the Anderson ones, so this will be, in theory, the most grass we actually cut, and then it will get ever so slightly smaller, but I'm not even sure if there's a bale difference in it really. Come around here, try not to get too close to the road there. See if we can turn back. And again, I've certainly never mowed with like a mid-mounted mower like this in real life to know what you're supposed to do. I've seen some people who go up and down and turn them on the end rows each time, but I think most people seem to just sort of keep it fixed in one place, other than what we've just done, like flipping it so we can get the real outside bits. Most of these fields are small enough that we don't need to be too tactical on them really, we can just go as we please. Now here we'll come and do a whole loop around this pole. Try to get in nice and tight without obviously hitting it. Just about okay there. So the electricity pole makes it a bit difficult, but it's more variety, it's more fun, you know, than just... Some people obviously like nice easy square fields, but I like the variety. Okay, that should do for laps around the field, so I'm not even sure if it's worth cutting in here. I think we just go each end and work our way inwards, and that way we won't flatten any more grass than we have to. Drive into the edge a bit, I guess, there. But we've got a cab so we don't hit our head on all the branches at least. I feel like the white and the discbine go perfectly together. They work really well. It's got enough power to pull it on all of our fields. And nice fast steering to turn around at the end, which feels like that's the only thing missing in the case on the planter, is that the steering angle isn't wonderful, so you don't get a good lock. And I know EY Modding did release that Farmal, was it 1206, I think? So we'll probably end up upgrading planters anyway, because I can't see that 4-row lasting us for many more years. I think we've been using it for at least 5. But if we did keep it around just for some of the smaller fields, I wonder if maybe a narrow front tractor, which I think you can configure that Farmal as. There's a deer in the grass we'll have to watch. Don't know whether April's a bit early in the year for looking out for baby deer. I think probably. Not that Farming Simulator spawns any in. So here we'll have to be a little clever. My one gripe with the white tractor is when you go into reverse, it puts you immediately into reverse low range effectively. So then if you want to reverse at any speed at all, you have to spend time shifting again. Whereas I presume in real life you could just kind of jump straight from whatever forward gear you were in into whichever reverse you wanted, high or low. But I could be wrong. I think some of the Oliver tractors that came before this had the same under-rover gearbox. Just from what I've seen in videos and reading about that kind of stuff. And again, just from reading about it, I think they didn't have engine braking in the under position on the power shift, the low gear effectively, which if that's the case, it's similar to what was very popular in the UK, which was Massey Ferguson multi-power gearboxes, which only had engine braking in high. So going down hills you had to make sure it was in high first, otherwise you could potentially run away and not have anything other than your tractor's brakes to stop you, unlike normally. Anyway, that's the first field, which is probably the biggest area of land. I don't know, it's fairly even between that and the land down the way. Just north of field 15, it doesn't actually show on the map. Anyway. Nice clear road. Flashes on into overdrive and we'll head up to this little patch here. So these two fields, which are all nicely prepped, are going to be our bean fields, this one and the one over the bridge. So when the time comes in May, in May we'll do that. That'll be all good. And then the two pieces of equipment I really want to buy this year are a nice wide John Deere mulch tiller for the Steiger, which will be good for tilling our corn come fall after it's all harvested, getting the ground prepped again. Because I think with periodic ploughing on, it's after every corn harvest you need to plough, but I could be wrong, we'll see. I certainly needed to for this last one. And then the other piece of equipment I'd like to buy, already mentioned again, is a seeder, so we can start double cropping, do wheat or barley or rye I think as well. Although I'm pretty sure rye is usually grown as a cover crop here, sort of the Midwest, and then cut while it's still green for forage, so we could try that and be more realistic, but for the double cropping I think we want barley or wheat. And again, the most realistic choice is probably going to be wheat, so we'll be very basic, and not necessarily basic but authentic to some of the more widely grown crops in Missouri to start with. And then eventually, I was saying in Simulation Station's Discord today, in the fantastic Own the Map challenge channel that he's got over there, where there's a lot of different people doing this, so definitely go over, check his channel out, and I'm sure he's got a link to his Discord on there somewhere, or if you catch a stream of his, I know you can always get the Discord link off someone. If you are interested in trying this yourself and whatnot, I assume most of the people watching are aware of him already, but who knows. So yeah, I was saying there that my end goal with this is, I think, similar to the terms that Mr. Farquhar established or sort of laid out in his very first Own the Map challenge video, where basically he aspires, and is nearly there actually, he's doing really well on episode God knows what, but he wanted to own every field, obviously, that's the basic one, but also do successfully sort of farm every animal, every realistic crop, so everything other than sugarcane and olives for this map from my research, which I've already taken out in the crop calendar, so it's impossible for them to appear. Basically do everything, own all the productions on the map, plus any more you put down, obviously, that kind of thing. So I got some really big plans, but for the time being we're going to have to stick really nice and simple and do the very basic corn, beans, wheat and grass for a few years maybe, and then once we get some more land we can expand and start to have some fun. And I'd really like to do some sunflowers, because I think I'm right in saying Missouri is the sunflower state. They're a real symbol. Could be completely misinformed on that, but at least I think that's what it is. We were going so well and then we kind of overshot here. undershot maybe. We can come back and catch that tiny bit if we really want. Now I haven't seen that pesky... Oh, there's the bale. Rolled down towards the creek there, so we'll have to get that out. I haven't done a sort of outside row around this field because I know the it's pretty close to the trees that side, and on this side the invisible wall comes out quite far. So maybe we should have been a bit more conservative with our ploughing, but I think we can just not bother, and it speeds this bit up too. But yeah, big goals. I'm not sure. I really hope we'll be able to buy some land at the end of this year as well as the seeder and mulch tiller, but if not, certainly what we need to achieve is finishing off with that forest and ploughing that up and planting it. I think that it's really hard to know what to plant, whether to do it as a grass field or crop, because either way you'd have to be dragging a lot of machinery half around the map just to do it. It might be worth doing it as an extra corn and arable field, but then all our money at the moment comes from grass, which is why we're going to be doing 3 cuts of silage this year rather than... Usually I'd do silage in the spring, hay in the summer when it's nice and will dry really quick, and then silage again in the fall. Get our 3 cuts that way. Make sure we don't get absolutely wiped off the map by the train, which has happened a few times when I haven't been paying attention, but we'll ignore that. It's Farming Simulator, I'm sure we've all been there. So yeah, we'll get the forestry, at least the stumps ground, if we don't quite get around to cutting all the trees down, and we'll get like half a field in basically. I will also, after all of these fields have been cut, I'll check the precision farming map, because I know we were getting quite outdated data on our grass fields, but luckily we do have that soil sampler that we picked up last year. I missed out on one quite early on, and well, we've been paying for it in extra costs ever since, so that should do. Again, I might just be lazy, try to stick to the outside here and not do a sort of a reverse row. Will this show a yield map? Yeah, it does, but I'm not sure whether that updates, and it seems we've got full nitrogen after last episode, or the one before, I think, episode 4. Full nitrogen, full pH, we did that back last fall. Actually, maybe we will come and get this bit, because you miss quite a lot by the bank. So we'll do like a half lap. And again, all of our grass fields would just kind of waste meadow grounds that came with fields we bought, other than this, which it was its own plot, but you didn't get any usable fields without ploughing, so we did that immediately to get the precision farming working. This one can be a bit difficult just because of the very sharp point, basically, but this time we might be able to use that to our benefit. Turn around here. Not sure whether locking a discbine up that tight is good for it or not, whether it's designed for that, and we're running it up the bank again. But now we can do like an outside round half the field, which is a bit unorthodox, but does the job. And we'll start bringing it back in now. There we go. And this field definitely becomes easier after that point there is dealt with, because we can start to turn tight and avoid it entirely. And we'll try to turn this triangle into a rectangle basically, so we don't end up constantly dealing with that point. It's all going to be rowed up anyway, we're not baling straight from the wide rows out of the back of the discbine, so we don't need to be too methodical in how we cut it as long as the grass goes down. And I do like mowing in first person, but I feel like the speed of the discbine is slightly too fast to keep up with basically. Now then, we'll turn that off just in case we catch something on the road, turn it round and do our kind of middle lap of the headlands. Get onto the field nicely, although our windrower usually does spit some back onto the tarmac. And we'll... Actually, yeah, we've been in far too high a gear. I don't think the whites minded. Farming Simulator's quite lenient on gears really, but I do try to keep it to a decent gear for what you'd be running speed wise. Okay, so come here, raise that, and then see if we can rotate the whole thing. That's a bit difficult to get used to. Okay, there we go. And now we'll do a lap around the outside here. I think we'll just pull it in a little bit there. And we might have to some more to stop us driving up the bank. Let's see. No, that's fine actually. Getting to that nice golden hour period. I haven't said before, but we are using, I think it's the additional game settings mod, allows you to use lighting from other maps. So we've got Court Farms installed, which is a fantastic map and well worth checking out. That's on the mod hub as well, UK map. And part of that is it's got fantastic custom lighting that we've basically use the additional game settings to nick, so we're not running the, I think Alma just uses the vanilla Elm Creek lighting, and other than maybe it being slightly unrealistic as some sunrise and sunset times for this part of the world, I don't know, other than that it looks fantastic and I really don't mind. So definitely a lot easier than tweaking with shaders, which I have done in the past, but I do like the idea of shaders, but I feel like with relight and shaders and stuff, lots of people go far overboard and it feels really unnatural to me. Like, maybe looks good for screenshots, but sometimes it's a bit overpowering for actual in-game use, sort of 24/7. I'm getting on alright with this cab view now, so maybe we'll have to challenge ourselves and do the entire next cut in cab to give some variety to it, because as I said, we're doing this silage process 3 times a year basically, so we'll probably start skipping bits anyway, but it makes it a bit boring to have the same video 3 times a year for every year we're doing this, and I don't plan on changing out any haymaking kit anytime soon. It all works really well, good for our size of operation, and we can scale it quite a bit too. So I think that's some of the stuff that will stay with us until really late on. We might get a second thing, or maybe a swather at some point. And one of my favourite jobs, other than mowing, in Farming Simulator I learned, is collecting swathed like cereal crops with the pickup mods that BC Pula added with his swather add-on. There we go, that's the last field. And I know that like swathing cereal crops is more realistic to northern farming and Canadian stuff with Edgewater, but I have read kind of semi-experimental recommendations for double cropping here, that actually down further south in the Midwest swathing could potentially be used to get a crop dried faster in order to plant beans basically sooner than you would otherwise. So it's implausible but not at all impossible to have, and I would definitely like to do it just because, as I said, it's one of my favourite things. I'm not really sure why, because I don't really like baling. That might be the stopping and starting, but having the pickup head on the front and just following around all the swaths you've made with the mower is just really therapeutic to me basically. For a minute I was scared that we didn't fold that mower away, but that's all alright. We missed a few patches there, but that's fine. We've also still got our indicator on. Thought it was the flashers, but apparently not. So we've got the case already on the windrower. The next job for this will be baling. So I think for now we'll just run this up here. We might drop the mower off, get it out of the way of the cultivator, which we'll need in a couple months' time for weeds. Lights off, indicator off, engine off. There we go. Just as the sun's setting, really nice time of day. So I'll quickly show you. We've got the case. I don't think it's quite on the windrower because the 8910's in the way. So we just need to start this up, shove it back a bit, and then wiggle this one out, because this is quite wide to get out the door. But we'll do that all off camera. And then coming over to our newly kitted out shop. It's a bit tidier here. We've got the planter in the back because we obviously aren't going to use it for another year basically. We got the old Model A and dragged the bale wrapper out, and coincidentally it's in the shed now, keeping out of the elements. We might try to see if we can get some use of it as a vintage tractor because the paint's still really quite nice on it. We'll see about taking it to some rallies or stuff if there's anything around later on in the year. We'll have to go ask in town because we've been lacking, but I think almost all of our tractors are old enough to appear in like a classic tractor rally, but the old Model A could do with a bit of showing. I think people would like to see it. So we'll leave it there for the night, and quickly check the contracts menu to see if anything's come in. I know we had those grass contracts, but I'm a bit, yeah, they're all baling at the moment, and we're going to be sick of baling enough by the end of the year, so I try to avoid them unless we're really in a pinch money-wise, which we're not. So I'll head inside, sleep, and then we'll carry on with haymaking tomorrow, and we'll be doing that probably for the next day or two. So I'll catch you guys in the next one.